We are live. It looks like we're live. We'll give everybody a chance to catch up. This was a interesting morning. Um, Jumped on to do a live on Facebook, and it had a notification that I needed to do authentication code because there's so many people viewing our posts, and nobody else has had that challenge. And then they wanted the password to my authenticator, which is for all my financial accounts. And I'm going, whoa, let's not go down this road. So something's going on that's rather curious. So it makes for an interesting moment, but it's exactly the topic for this morning, which is absolutely insane. Here's the introduction for the assessment. For the topic, and the assessment gives us the word. It's in my dreams, and it's called resilient. It's when things don't work out the way you had imagined them working out. Yesterday, I've been in California with Paul. We spoke at a leadership conference on Thursday, and then he keynoted an event on Friday, and I keynoted an event on Saturday, and couldn't get out. I needed to do some introductions on stage that afternoon, and the first flight out was yesterday morning, really early. So I'm getting these notifications while I'm getting my bags packed at the hotel. When I click on them, they take me right to my wallet, to my boarding pass. Nothing. Okay, they're just reminding me to make sure I get there on time. So I get there in plenty of time to find out the flight's been delayed 3 hours. And I have a critical meeting at noon I'm supposed to be at, and now I won't be landing till after 1 o'clock. I'm going, now what are we going to do? Anyway, so went and had a little light breakfast and sat and did a Facebook post thinking about some of my blessings and focused on those things that are most important in my life, and I had a wonderful 3-hour just relaxing moment. Got on the plane, flew home, everything worked out great. Got here, and there were still 3 of our children with our grandchildren. They'd been here for the weekend with Ramona, playing on the lake, and I got to spend some time with them, and that was really precious. 2 of them celebrating birthdays this weekend. And then they left, and we went over to a little church event where they were cooking funnel cakes. If you ever had a funnel cake, they're really bad in terms of sugar, but great company. It was a wonderful social event. And then Ramona and I got up super early this morning for a bike ride. Last week we did Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 34 and a half miles. The week before, 62 and a half miles. So excited this morning to get out and just put in 12 good miles to launch the week. Tested the tires. They're big fat tires, so you load them on the truck, and on the bike ride, you just hit them with your fists, and they're really solid. They look really great. So we get there, and Ramona had taken everything out of the truck to take some paddle boards down to the lake, and I thought I put everything back in, but I did everything but the pump. Oh well. We get there, and I get on my bike, and I'm going just a little ways, and I'm going, my back tire feels just a little squishy. Had her check it. It looked like, if we were careful, we should be okay. We got about a half a mile down the road, and all of a sudden, my front tire just went flat. And I'm going, ooh, can I nurse this back to the car? So I'm trying for about 20 feet, and it's going right to the rim, and I'm going, nope, not gonna ruin the rim. So I got off and walked it back to the truck, and Ramona raced ahead because her hip's been hurting, so she wanted to ride and not walk, and she got back to the truck, and we got everything loaded and climbed. He says, what are you thinking about while you're walking? And I said, this conversation you and I are having this morning. I thought, isn't this fascinating? And then I log on early to start the live, and Facebook says, because you've had so many views, you need to have an authentication code. We need to make sure this is you. And then they start asking for a password on my authenticator, which has all that financial information. And I'm going, no way, we got to stop all this, rally the troops. And we came back on the StreamYard and finally got live this morning. I know these are all first world problems, but it really illustrates one of the key leadership principles that I want to talk to you about. And I just got boom, 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 just to really have a heightened level of awareness regarding what this feels like. Here's the challenge for entrepreneurs. We're very visual and we're very obsessive thinkers. We have a tremendous risk of going into the future. Now, the risk isn't going into the future. The risk is going in the future with this kind of vivid visualization and having the mind create a mental construct. It's kind of a fancy word, but it's like constructing a house, except for it's constructing a new reality. And to the mind, that is real. So when the plane's delayed 3 hours and you already have kind of played out the day, it's a little painful. When you get up this morning and you're excited about a bike ride, and you've been thinking about the trail you want to go on and how it's going to feel to go over this piece and that piece, and you're playing it out in your mind and you can't do it, it's painful. When you want to jump on and be on time and serve and you can't be there, it's painful. We live in moments. We live in moments. We have to be very careful when we go into our mind to play out in the future too far ahead. That's where we want to be. There's the target. But as we go there, we can create a fixed path that if the path ever deviates, it can be very painful because of the way our habits of thinking function. So knowing that, we have to be very careful. Like this morning, I will never show up again on a bike ride without the pump. I'm going to put some extra stuff in the tires this afternoon, new, that helps stop it from having a leak. Just take some precautions, and I'll make sure before we go, I'll check it again. I'll pump it up. There'll be some things that'll be done where the focus is in the moment, because that's where we live. When I was talking on Saturday, I had everybody just reach out and go like that. Boom. Boom. This is when we're touching the timeline of our life. It's now. Still now. 10 hours from now, still now. 20 hours from now, still now. Life happens in the now, and entrepreneurs spend most of their time living in their minds, and because they do, they're a little bit further ahead than the now. And when it doesn't show up, it's painful. We want to be very, very careful as we're doing our planning to be increasingly conscious that entrepreneurs, as leaders, will want to spend more time living in the now, getting inspired ideas about how to move things forward. Ramona said she had an inspired idea this morning to put the pump in the truck and forgot to. And we were laughing about it. She said, I'm beating myself up for that too. It was just a fun conversation. But if we're listening, really present, and we're listening to those inspired ideas, we can take what is and move it forward and celebrate, and move it forward and celebrate, versus racing ahead in our mind and spending so much time in resistance and resentment and frustration when it's not happening the way we want it to be. Now, can you just see the difference between those? Because this is such a critical leadership skill, both personal leadership and leading people that might be on your team if you're building a business. Let's review just one last time to make sure this is crystal clear. We want to spend more time living in the now, intentionally going to our mind, freeing up this space for an inspired idea. My mind this morning, I was so on the trail. I was lucky we got the bikes loaded. Fortunately, we had our helmets and our gloves and our jackets, all that stuff, but the pump wasn't there because I wasn't present getting inspired ideas. I was racing ahead on the trail. And then when it didn't happen that way, it took a real interesting adjustment. And thank goodness I was meeting with all of you this morning so that I could look at it as an opportunity to learn to share with you this very principle. Present in the now, inspired ideas. That's what we use our mind for, to get an inspired idea about how to move what is forward a millimeter and then celebrate. Now, we will go into our mind and set some goals and get an idea where we want to be. That's a target. The path to the target is going to be circuitous. It's going to go all over the place because that's just how life functions. Life is never like this. It's always like this. And over time, trending up is the plan, right? Trending up, but not always up. There's going to be days that are absolutely down. And if we are holding life hostage to a trajectory like this, always going up, and getting to that as quickly as possible without any interruptions from life, we are going to spend an enormous amount of time as entrepreneurs buried in cortisol, that stress hormone in our amygdala, our fight or flight center, being activated and shutting down all the energy-rich parts of our brain, our empathy, our practical judgment, and our common sense. Let's just examine how we are setting our goals, identifying our dreams, and then are we coming back here and being really present in the now, taking what is and moving it forward and celebrating. A flat tire is no big deal when you're living in the now. A delayed plane flight, not a big deal when you're living in the now. It's so important that we spend our time here because this is where we touch the timeline of our life, and this is where we create our dreams. Everybody with me this morning? Now, Og Mandino puts it this way: I'll keep my eye on the goal above my head. That's where I'm headed. That's my destination. I'll ignore the obstacles at my feet, all the unhealthy habits of thinking, the resistance, the resentment, the frustration, for where dry desert ends, green grass grows. What a dry desert yesterday with a plane delay. You have a dry desert with a flat tire. You can have a dry desert with a technical issue. And you get through that, and then you get to have green grass. I'm looking forward to green grass, and hopefully we're experiencing some right now as we are visiting together. Now, that's personal leadership. Now, with that being mastered, and I'm not saying it's mastered, being mastered, you're on the journey, because you're going to have moments that just remind you, whoa, I wasn't present in the now. I got a little carried away. I wanted to so badly when I was checking in my bag, and I'm going, this is a big airline. Can't they give me a decent notification? I could have stayed at the hotel for another hour or so, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can go there, but it didn't do anything. It wouldn't serve her. There's nothing she could do about it. Nothing. Why would I make her morning miserable because I'm frustrated? Just let it go, okay? Got 3 hours. What do you want to do with the 3 hours that could be productive versus living in anger and frustration? It's just a different approach. Now we go to leadership. We are going to be inviting entrepreneurial minds into a business. Our Og Mandino coaches, very entrepreneurial souls. If you're building a home-based business, people you bring, very entrepreneurial souls. 93 to 97% having the gift of vivid visualization and effortless thinking. What does that mean? They're living in their heads most of the time. And your responsibility as a leader is to prepare them to have goals and dreams, goals they accomplish, dreams they fund, right? But they live present in the now, getting an inspired idea, moving their business forward and celebrating. That is one of your primary tasks as a leader. Help someone get present. What is happening right now? Based on that, what is your capacity to create a little bit of what you want to do between here and your goal to fund your dream? and get people making wins in the now. Because if we're constantly living in this frustration, your teams will be in such chaos and frustration and overwhelm, feeling stuck. So you be the one who lives in the now, moving it forward and celebrating with an inspired idea, and then you teach them to do likewise. We live in the now. Just do that with them. So here's the timeline of your life. 10 years from now, it's still now. It's always now. We're just seldom here. And we want to get here and teach them how to use their very powerful minds to avoid fantasy where they escape to the future and spend time there imagining what it's going to be like, or catastrophe when it doesn't turn out that way and they start getting frustrated. To use their very fertile and creative minds to get an inspired idea about how to take what is and move it forward a millimeter and then celebrate with them. That win can inspire another win that will inspire another win. This is what Og meant in scroll number 3. I'll persist until I succeed. I will build my castle one brick at a time. Well, there's how to build yours. And you build theirs by helping them be present in the now, getting inspired ideas, moving things forward, and celebrating with them. You just helped them put a brick on their castle. You didn't put it on. They put it on, and you supported them and celebrated with them. And the accumulation, as I've said before, the accumulation of all of those brick building activities result in your income, your rank or status in a company. Let us remember that as leaders, we want to lead ourselves and then lead our teams. And this is one of the most critical leadership principles to implement. Thanks, everyone, and thanks for being patient with us this morning as we started a little bit late. We'll get this figured out by next Monday so that we can be on time. Look forward to be with you again to share another entrepreneurial leadership principle. And these, frankly, are designed for entrepreneurial minds. If you're an employee, you can have an entrepreneurial mind and bring this kind of results-driven behavior to your employment. It's a whole lot more fun. I've had someone say to me, well, they don't pay me for that. And I say, well, so what? When you go full speed and you're results-driven, you get to live in your genius, and that heals your esteem. It's really for your benefit you're doing it, not for theirs. Have some fun with this. We'll see you next Monday. Thanks, everyone.